knows what's going on? It's Preacher. And I'm sorry for releasing this video so late at night, but I really needed to have a little talk about this because I want to point out a couple of things. One, I'm over the legendary system. Like, personally, I'm well over it. I don't care anymore. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'm really not bothered. It has no effect on my game whatsoever. And I don't think it has much of an effect on many people's games anyway, right? And the last thing I'm seeing in the current climate is people saying, I'm not getting taken to raids anymore because of my legendaries or whatever. I'm not seeing that. If that exists somewhere and you've seen it happen, cool. Let me know. But overall, to the general community, not seeing that happening. So a blue... I just want to be clear. I just want to make sure I'm over it. I'm not salty about the legendary system. I don't care. I really just do not care anymore. My care box is totally empty about the whole system, as I think many of you are. But they finally commented on this, and it really feels right now, and I hate making videos like this, but we have to talk about this because it's crazy, and it's so unfair, is that it feels like Blizzard won an Olympic gold with BlizzCon. Like, everybody walked away smiling from BlizzCon. And all we've come back to since then, it feels like they crossed the line and then fell over the cameraman and broke their arm. Because all we've come back to is a patch that has stuff in it that many of us were like, what? What is this? Why? Why are you doing this now? Or what the fuck? It's just very confusing and mysterious stuff that they've had to put out several responses to. Like, wait, we're going to fix it. Don't worry about it. It's just the way PTRs work. Yeah, I've been through hundreds of PTRs. This is one of your worst ones ever. And you should have seen anything coming. And now we've had a blue finally break his silence on legendary item look. And it's the most condescending and pedantic post I've seen in so goddamn long. So if you haven't read it, I'm going to read you some excerpts from this because it blows my mind that they agreed to type this. And in fact, it was so preordained, in my opinion, that they were attacking it in a certain way. So on legendary item look, it says, "Hey all, I just wanted to clear up a common misconception I've seen come up a lot in recent discussions regarding those oranges. In short, your total time played," that's slash played, of course, that when we talk about time played, it means actually being online doing stuff, "and average item level has no bearing on your chances of obtaining a legendary." Okay, so that makes sense. I don't think anybody was arguing that. I don't think someone was saying, well, if I'm online and I have 850 item level, I should be getting a legendary, despite what I'm doing in game. Is anybody arguing that? I checked through the post he responded to, and I didn't see that. I didn't see anybody saying, well, I've been online for a long time now, like they're leaving their PCs on overnight or something fucking stupid, and I have a decent item level, so I should get a legendary. I don't think anybody was arguing that, and that's specific. I'm not being condescending there. I'm not being a twat. That's what he refers to. Your total time played and average item level has no bearing, right? That's what he's saying, those two things. So now he gets a little bit more specific, and this is where it gets really silly for me. He says, player A and player B could both have exactly 10 days of slash played. That's just being logged into WoW at level 110, and neither of them have a legendary yet, right? So what it doesn't refer to at all is what those guys were doing in-game. So you can rack up 10 days slash played pretty fucking quickly if you're a hardcore player, or that might take you a month. Player A has spent most of that time derping about in Dalaran or the Order Hall, simply kicking it by the water cooler in guild chat or trade chat. Beyond doing their daily emissary quest and mythic dungeon here or there, they don't really do much in any way of legendary eligible content. So you must remember, initially the suggestion was that legendaries would drop from anything in the game. So people were getting a little bit angry at the thought of farming boars for their best in slot items, right? So they changed it so it gets to things from like chests and from killing bosses, etc., etc., as you're well aware by now. So that's it. That's what player A does. Doesn't really play, does his dailies, and then he sort of derps about in fucking guild chat, maybe joins the odd 5-man. Player B, on the other hand, right, our other player, has spent the majority of their time doing legendary eligible content. So that's doing their daily emissary quest, clearing the Emerald Nightmare each week, do a random heroic regularly, and participate in lots of mythic keystone dungeons to help out their friends. I want you to know that help out their friends bit. It comes back a bit later. So this is why this was kind of predetermined what we were going to say here. He then goes on to say, at this point in time, player B, this is the guy who's been doing loads of fucking content that could drop a legendary, player B's chance of getting a legendary will be much higher than that of player A. Oh, really? I am shocked. Call me stunned. So this reads to me, and maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic here, maybe I'm being a bit of a douche, you can let me know, but what I'm literally reading here is if I roll a dice all day, I have more chances of getting a 6 than a guy who just rolls it once. That's what I'm literally reading here. Is if I keep rolling the dice, chances are I'll get a 6. But if I roll it once a day, maybe I won't. I have more chances if I keep rolling the dice. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I need that explaining to me. I don't expect, right, to kill Mythic Xavius if I don't raid. Right? I don't expect to score the winning goal if I don't join the football team. I'm pretty sure that if I do something more often that might result in that, I'll probably get it more often than the guy who doesn't. Right? Do we really need that explaining? I mean, I think we all gathered that, right? Now, then it goes on to say, and this is the important bit, at this point in time, player B's chance of getting a legendary will be much higher than that of player A, as we just said, as player B has participated in far more legendary eligible content. Yeah, we get that. Their bad luck protection will be ramping up and increasing their chances of getting a legendary from their next run of legendary eligible content. Bad luck protection, what are you talking about? The only thing we can infer, and I use that word very, very intentionally, infer, is that every time you do something that might give you a legendary and doesn't, you have a higher chance of getting it next time. Can you confirm that that's the case? How is it worked out? What goes into it? What factors? Is that the case? Or are you just saying, because using this phrase, bad luck protection, seems to indicate that there's a system involved, but you won't say clearly that the system's involved. All you're giving in this example is that if you keep trying, ergo keep rolling the dice, eventually you're gonna win. That's all I'm reading here, and this is what's so infuriating about this. You keep using this phrase, bad luck protection. What do you mean? Bad luck protection will be ramping up. That could mean anything. That could mean that simply odds are if you keep rolling and rolling and rolling, you're eventually going to win. That could be your ramping up process. Or is there a system in place? You've told us what's not involved, which is slash played an item level. What is involved? Is it just chance to get it? What's wrong with letting us know that, yeah, if you keep trying, yeah, your bad luck your bad luck protection, the system is in game, there is an algorithm running, and it will track this, so eventually if you keep doing it, you are going to get that reward. That would give me far more incentive to do a lot of content, because I've got to be honest with you guys, and maybe you guys are seeing this as well. I'm statistically not seeing that across a lot of players who are playing hardcore. There are people who have done hundreds and hundreds more Mythic Pluses than I have, and have the same amount of legendaries that I do. I have 2. And again, I'm not arsed. I don't care. But I just wish they would stop pissing about with it and just say if it's just pure RNG, say that, or are they worried what the backlash will be? Because I think most of us have accepted that it is pure RNG, there's nothing else involved in it, and sure, if someone is running Mythic Plus, like we've seen people recently who've done Mythic More of Souls like 300 times, if you're going to try it 300 times, yeah, I don't care that that guy has more legendaries than me, but is that because he had some system in place, or is it because they just rolled the dice 300 more times than I did? Because I'm not prepared to roll the dice 300 times, honestly, because that's an absurd amount of time investment. I would just like to know. I would like to know. Is that a problem? But your examples here seem to indicate, no, that's not the case. Your example just indicates that if you do legendary eligible content over and over again, you have a higher chance than someone who doesn't do that. Okay. But how does that explain the fucking my alt getting it on his second emissary cache? He was just an outlier, I guess. Sure, I can accept that. I got lucky on that guy, but I see that a lot more than I see anything else. Blah, blah, blah. He then goes on to say, hence the saying, if you do the content, the legendaries will come. What the fuck does that mean? That's like saying if you play the game, stuff will happen. Yeah, pretty much. If I do arena, the honor will come. If I do the BGs, the honor will come. Yeah, pretty much. If I do the dailies, the artifact power will come. Yeah, that's where you get it from. I don't understand what the purpose of this post was, other than to just feel like I'm being spoken to like a child. It really does feel that way. The only reference we get to something occurring is this: their bad luck protection will be ramping up and increasing their chances of getting a legendary from their next run. What do you mean? What do you mean? I can infer that there is a system in place, but I'm statistically, and this is the important thing to remember, because you can be pedantic and read that and go, well, they're telling you there, Preacher, bad luck protection will be ranking up and increasing your chances. That's what he specifically says. Statistically, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that anywhere. I'm really not. It took Ghosty weeks, and we did the content side by side for the most part. It took Ghosty weeks to get his first one after I got mine. And we did the same amount of content, cleared the same amount of raids. every week. So was I lucky and then he wasn't? And I mean, if you've got the system being so random, what's the point in the bad luck protection? I don't understand. I'm totally baffled by it, and like I said, I'm over it. I don't care. But there are lots of players who really care for this. It then gets a little bit worse in my eyes, okay? So who decides to choose to respond to one of the replies, which was, player A, this is the guy who did nothing, he gets lucky, he gets his BIS legendaries, while player B, who does loads of content, gets the shitty legendaries that are totally useless. That would be me, right? I got my first legendary, I couldn't even equip it. Fast forward some time. Player A and B both try to get the same spot in a raid. Of course, player A gets picked up because he has better legendaries than actually increases in performance. I have never seen this happen. Has this happened somewhere? Maybe. But let's put into context, because he goes on to respond like this is a situation people are facing. I have never seen this. This is a total forum fabrication as far as I'm concerned. Let's talk about player A and B then, in this scenario. Player A hasn't done any raiding, barely does any mythic dungeons, just does his dailies, and then he trolls general chat and guild chat, right? That's what he does. Player B has been raiding since day fucking one, has turned up to all the raids, does loads of mythic pluses with the guild, clearly has way more artifact power, chances are significantly better gear because of what he's been doing, and not only that, has progressed and killed raid bosses. Are you telling me that it's a real problem that Blizzard should address, that suddenly Derper, who's been trolling guild chat all day, gets, say, if he was a fire mage, he gets the BIS braces, and suddenly player B, who's been there since day one and progressing, gets told to sit on the fucking bench, while player A, who has barely any artifact power comparatively, barely any gear comparatively, but has a pair of orange braces and suddenly decides he wants to raid, despite having no experience, will get that spot and will just kick player B to the curb who've been raiding with forever. Assuming no obvious skill differences. No, that would never happen. As far as I'm concerned, the only time that would ever happen is if you were in one of the worst guilds of all time. I mean, let's also suppose for a second that this isn't something where you want to stack classes. So we're talking seriously high end now. I'm in a top, what I consider casual these days is a top 400 raid guild. That's what I raid in, right? So at the very, very top end, you class stack. And you've only got one spot in that scenario, right? We've got room for player A to join the raid, but there's only one spot, and it comes down to braces or whatever. Are you saying that's the situation? Because that's just ridiculous. Utterly nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So he goes on to say, in this scenario, as player B has been helping their guild out more than player A has, I think most communal, that's your social guilds guys, would prefer to give that spot to someone like player B. Why are you talking to this guy as if every raid is decided by lottery that involves some kind of gear? Like, it doesn't matter what your performance has been ever before the raid invites go out. It's a pure lottery every single raid night as to who gets to go. Sure. As player B has spent more time doing content than player A, they will arguably know how to adapt and adjust to situations, like where they could do more DPS, more readily than player A will. Yeah, most likely the guy who's been killing these raid bosses will have more awareness of how to do them than the guy who hasn't done them. I agree. Solid point made. There are plenty of groups and guilds killing normal and heroic Emerald Nightmare and Trial of Valor, with most of their roster not even having a BIS legendary. Hello, that would be me. A legendary should is not going to be the sole determining factor in whether or not a coordinated group is going to beat an encounter. Sure, the legendary might bring enhancements or utility that make the process smoother, but they're not a through and through substitute for skill and execution. Now, I can kind of take this with a grain of salt as if he's trying to explain and encourage people who might be under this weird belief that some guy could just walk in after capping and having a few hours played, but has happened to get a really good legendary and has nothing else at all, and take your raid spot despite you being there since day one, assuming you're not a massive twat and they want to replace you, right? I can understand they might want to be reassuring people, and maybe it's just that I'm a little angry at the tone of this post that I'm dismissing that, because it seems like such a choice reply. Like, I'll reply to this guy because I can give a really totally bullshit answer that'll get us away with everything, right? And I just think, ugh, please, really? So then someone actually brings up a good point. We're not statistically seeing what you're saying as being true. You're telling us this thing, but we're not seeing it. So the replies are, many of us are doing the content, but aren't getting the legendaries. All this bad luck protection. The system is still the worst idea you've ever had, and it's ruining the experiences a game is supposed to deliver. It's no longer fun. Playing the game is not fun. Do you not see this? The legendary system at its best provides a sense of relief if you manage to get 2 good ones, but at its worst it just makes you frustrated, angry and disappointed. This is not a good system. Let us target the items that are quickly becoming mandatory, if they aren't already, like you said would be possible, and they did, and they don't have an answer for that. We found that out at BlizzCon. The small change would make the expansion way better in every way as it stands now. Legion is by far the worst expansion to date simply because of this legendary system. I disagree with that. It's just a bad system in a myriad of 1,000 good systems. How do you not see this? Why aren't you listening? And then we get the simple replies. We are listening. We're aware of the problem. Now, as it was made pretty clear at BlizzCon, is they know the system's shitty, which is why I was totally surprised that they're going to flood even more legendaries into the game. I don't understand why. What many people are calling for, and it's evidenced in these replies, is they want to get their best legendaries so they don't have to fucking care about it anymore. It's not a case that I'm excited to get it. I'm not excited to get it. I'm not. The simple fact is, I want it to be over. And that's what most people are asking for. We're not asking for anything else. We want it to be over. We're sick of getting legendaries that we can't use or are just shit. And then apparently that's the resetting of our mysterious bad luck protection. That's what people are asking for. It's not a fun system. It's not. This is why I'm over it. I'm not interested. I'm not going to push for it. I'm done with it. I'm over with it. If I get them, great. If not, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to lose my rage spot over it because that doesn't really fucking happen anywhere. Such a strange fucking addition, and I would almost prefer if they just shut the fuck up about it now, or just because I don't think they could say it's just RNG, which I think it is. They're saying this bad luck protection exists in some form, and I part of me wants to believe them, but I'm not seeing the evidence of it. I'm not seeing the evidence of it at all. Oh, I'm frustrated at reading about it and seeing players simply call out for, you just let us get the ones that you've put in the fucking game, or give us some way to target it, or some way to work towards it, rather than me because you know what's not an incentive? You keep saying if you do more content, you'll have more chances to get it, you get more bad luck protection. That means nothing. It means nothing if that bad luck protection exists in some form, and it results in me getting a fucking legendary that I don't want in any way, and then have to start over again. That's the important point to take away here. You might be, if we were statistically seeing that running a lot of content was definitely going to give us more legendaries, we might be incentivized. But we're not seeing that, frankly. We're not seeing that. And if it wasn't a case that we could get terrible legendaries, and they are going some way to fix it in 7.15, they are doing that, and that's fine, but they're also adding more in, right? You've got to bear that in mind as well. They are fixing the terrible ones, but they're adding more in, and some of them are really fucking powerful again. And again, they could change. It's still the PTI. It could change. But just saying, adding more in, and this system is so boring. It's boring. It's boring and not fun. And I agree with what people are saying, is that it's just frustrating. I can speak from experience. It's frustrating. I have a ring that's okay sometimes, but doesn't work on bosses. Great. That's fantastic. And boots that I don't need. Right? That's what I have. That's what my odds have rolled in. And I could be salty about it, but honestly, I'm just like, pfft. Whatever, man. Just fucking get on with it. Do my normal stuff, and I'm certainly not going to push the boat out to try and hopefully get a fucking, the necklace? Yeah, right. My ass. Love to see your thoughts on it, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.